Kink is naughty. It can be partnered or solo, played out IRL, or simply fantasized about. Hi, I'm Samantha Bitty, sexual health and consent educator and enthusiast. The final lesson in this course is art. We're going to be talking about kink. Similar to the plethora of purpose of art, storytelling, self-expression, conflict resolution, or just for its own sake, kink is an exploration and articulation of the human experience in relation to ourselves and others. It's understood as any sexual expression or proclivity that deviates from commonly understood sex norms, sometimes called vanilla. Kink can take many forms and has many mediums, so to speak. From external expressions like attire, commands, specific acts, to internal, like the emotional arrangement of power dynamics within a relationship, or embodying a different age, gender, or even species. Oof. Kink is naughty. It can be partnered or solo, played out IRL, or simply fantasized about. Common thread, much like with art, to participate in kink and kinky things, it's important to look to its roots and origins for guidance and inspiration. With the popularization and mainstreaming of kink, particularly BDSM, which is the pain and power stuff, there is less shame and stigma about our sexually deviant twists and turns, which is dope. However, what we need to bring forth are the ethics, commitment, and practices that make kink safe, both physically and emotionally, substantial, and sustainable. As a consent educator, I must credit the kink community for the integral practices of consent like negotiation, transparency, safe words, aftercare, check-ins, creativity that makes safer sex normal and hot. Kink can be just for fun, or it can also be a really meaningful and powerful tool in processing complex emotions, including trauma. Neurological and scientific studies have found really fascinating stuff about what happens in our brains when we participate in kinky scenes. That is a bit of background. What about technique? There are as many kinks and fetishes as there are people who've ever lived or even thought about sex. So we can't really get into any specifics, though a shibari demo would be fun. The technique I'm referring to are those consent practices. We want to make sure we are aware of our capacity, communicating, and practicing emotionally and physically safer sex. So how do we do this? It starts with reflection. What are my soft and hard boundaries? Soft being, meh, could get into it. Hard being, nope, not happening. And letting partners know. What are my motivations? Motivations can be anything from, I just think it's hot, to an innate and maybe unexplainable intrigue. That's where fetishes often originate. A note, there is a difference between a fetish and fetishization. 2, I'm working on a difficult emotion I want to gain possession of. This can change for the same acts and be ever evolving. Either way, it's worth consideration. Especially important to power play, do I have my internalized oppressive narratives in check, such as misogyny, patriarchy, racism, sexism, transphobia, fat phobia, ableism. Remembering also that while domination is a form of control, submission is also a form of control. Participants have equal power and purpose in the scenario. Next, there is the practice. Negotiation takes place before, during, and after. Decisions about boundaries and needs, wants are discussed beforehand. Safe words. These are words or actions used to end or pause a session. Grounding plans. Do you know what you're going to do for each other if someone is activated or triggered? Aftercare. This is the established understanding of what everyone needs emotionally and physically after a session. And aftercare is not just for kink, it is for all types of sex. Another practice worth mentioning is holding space for others whose kinks are not your thing. In essence, not kink shaming or even vanilla shaming. How do we kindly say, no thank you, but good for you? Some stuff might freak us out, and that's fair, but try to remember that a kink or fetish isn't necessarily an experience or a dynamic someone actually wants to have. Something is being satisfied by playing it out. What you need to know. Kink is just as much an emotional game, physiologically and mentally, as it is a physical one, if not more. To gain the full transformative benefits of participating in kink, all the stuff in this lesson is important. If you are the sculptor, these practices are the clay. That concludes this semester of sex sessions, but you still have homework. Make sure you check it out on slice.ca or you're going to be in trouble. Just kidding, I'm a bottom.